Audiobahn 2001 product catalog with the laser beam out the butthole. Look at that. Innovations and Auto 7 Grand Prix. And rightly so. They had some pretty innovative stuff. They were doing stuff that nobody else was doing. So looks like it's pretty much a repeat. These are all the Class Ds. And of course, a lot of these board designs were very popular at the time. Epsilon, we've opened them up, and Epsilon was using the same boards, just a slightly different layout because of where the heatsink was and things like that. And then they still had the big high current ones, cheater amps, as they say. Let's see, yeah, half ohm stable per channel. Oh, and these are the mono versions. Is it mono version? Yeah, this is the mono versions. Were they running up? Oh no, they were running in those that just at 1 ohm. Sometimes though, when they do a mono version, it's actually a stereo amplifier bridged, and then they just say it's 1 ohm stable instead of. So they do that a lot on the Kicker amps. What was it? Kicker, Kenwood, Alpine, any other ones that are 2 ohm stable. Typically, it's inside. It's like the blue illumination. Typically, it's already it's two smaller Class D amps bridged together, strapped together, if you want to call it that. So, with a little heatsink link for the Class ABs. I saw a lot of these. There's another version, and maybe it's in other versions that it had like a scoop. Like a hood scoop on them. Oh, the big and the TVs in the video. Not really interested in that shit. And then same stuff. Of course, it wouldn't change too much over the period of a year. If anything, you want the tooling that you paid on the original stuff to last as long as possible. So that's an 8-band EQ. 6-band EQ, not that there's any difference. And then you got the 20-band and a 30-band equalizer. Here we go, the AWT series, which was I guess is their top line, 5,000 RMS. I don't know about that. That's a big. Okay, I never saw any this big. So, linear compression subwoofer. See, oh, that's the 34. Oh, that's the 34-inch one. Oh, okay, I know what these are. Yeah, I got the AWT 18 then. So with a 5-inch, 5-inch shitty fucking voice coil that nobody makes. So it's just sitting there like a turd. Oh no! I lied again. I got this one. The AW, but it's the 18-inch version. This is of only a 15. Yeah. But it uses this, I don't know which one I got now. God damn it. It's got this motor structure. It's that big one out there in the garage. You guys seen it. Whatever. I always thought their nomenclature was hard to read too. I mean, this is a beautiful woofer. It's great looking. I never liked that frame though. I like the grills. That was kind of cool looking. Of course, typically when they make a grill like that, it doesn't protrude enough. And sometimes you get rubbing, but this is the Illum. 3-inch dual 6 ohm, and then these are the ones that I could afford, the AW1500X, 1200X, and these used a 2.5-inch coil, and then some of the other ones. Flat piston, they're one of the rare people that came out with a flat piston one, but of course it's on a that helps with margin. Is you make something like that people really desire, and then you cheap out on the rest of it, which they chrome plate a stamped steel frame, and then of course it doesn't handle much power. It handles probably let's see, 2-inch coil, so 500 watts, if that. Does it even say? I don't see it. Where is it? Oh, 350 watts. There it is. Yeah. And then you got the smaller ones. So I had a bunch of, I think, these, the 120s, and we wanted to turn them into 8s. So I remember getting a bunch of those from, what's his name? Yeah, he had a Jerry curl like all the way into the 2000s. I forget his name. He had that shitty girlfriend that had Hep C and was like a bitch, and her family was like in a gang or something like that. I don't know. And I brought her on just to help relations with him and I, and it turned out shitty. Really like that mid bass. That looks really fucking tits McGee. Let's see, 200 RMS, plays down to 30 hertz. I don't know about 30 hertz, but I would love to see if anybody has any of these. I would love to test those. So not the 5 1/4, of course, but this little guy. The other one was 8s. Did I see any 8s? I didn't see any 8s. Most of them come in 8s, or was it 10s and 12s? There we go. This one, the AW800X, 80-ounce magnet, dual 4, 300 watts. Yeah. So nobody made any Super 8s until sundown. They were like, you know what? Let's take a turd and really turn it. Now these were interesting because I thought the problem with them, and my rep at M&M, Nick Riley, who shared a lot of really good behind the scenes secrets with me. It was nice talking to him. But these didn't really have enough Neo on them, which is one of the reasons why they integrated the heatsink into it. And then it would use the chassis as a heatsink as well. And this is also too deep. This should be much more shallow. Now, it does help. I know, what was it, Lanzar? Lanzar had under their Vibe series, for a while, made some good Neo drivers. Just regular good. And we ended up having to order a bunch of them because Prius owners needed a really shallow driver, Neo. That's a real waste on the 4 because nobody likes 4s. Even though I got fucking 2 pallets of these things. We're gonna end up having to do like a big linear array, like was it? I think it was Polk Audio did like a big huge array back in the 90s, but like only half the drivers worked. It was kind of dumb. I didn't know that till later. I was like, oh, Polk Audio stroking your dick, making you think it's awesome, and it's not. These are pretty generic. I mean, they look cool, but they're pretty generic. Putting the outboard crossover on a coax, not a great idea, which is why nobody does it. So, but just because most people don't have room for the crossover, and most people that are installing them, wow, really, for the 3.5, you can't just put a cap on the tweeter? Okay. Most installers, or I don't want to call them installers, most do-it-yourselfers don't know any better, and they have a hard time with a lot of this stuff. You should see some of the stuff that's come in, and I've had to fix, and guys get mad at me a little bit because I'm like, just throw it away, and they're like, well, I thought you were the guy that turns junk into. I'm like, there's certain junk that it's just not worth turning. You can't turn it all into treasure. Like this one, I did a bunch of those. Again, this was all for show. This is next year's, or yeah, I'll do this tomorrow. The 2002 with the big, goatsy butthole. But this big magnet was, I think, like on the 15, and then inside was like a 2 5/8 coil. It wasn't even a full 3-inch. It's kind of, they started to shave the margins, or grow margins, I should say, but shave quality and stuff almost immediately. Again, there's the VU meter. So there we go. And the other thing I was telling Sherry about the joke I told yesterday to you guys, and the other thing is why is there stereo VU meters? It's only one woofer. Maybe one's hooked up to each voice coil. I told you I like those. I also like the singles too. Those were good. So a lot of people, again, they typically go with 2 woofers, which I always like to be practical. I'd rather have one good woofer than 2 like okay woofers. because it takes up less space. And typically the cost is the same and the performance is the same as far as loudness goes. So, but that's just me, you know, my personal preference. Oh, the super caps. They started to come out with the super caps. 10 farad, digital with built-in distribution. And these are reminiscent, I think, of Mark Levinson. Mark Levinson, for a moment, made like it was like, I forget how much it weighed, but it was a huge amplifier that looked like a giant radiator for home audio. And it had a separate battery unit. So that way you could run your amplifiers on total DC. It's like, oh, you got too much money? Let me help you with that to get the ultimate in performance. So, and the basic caps. And of course, this is all Chinesium. Cool distribution blocks, though. Pretty generic stuff, though. They would just make it different colors. I always like that one. And then the other thing that they came out with was on the AGU fuses. I really liked. They had a built-in light, LED. Or it wasn't an LED. No, it was an incandescent. It was an incandescent light that when you pop the fuse, it would light up. I thought that was a really good idea. I wish somebody would do that again. So, but it, you know, it's like, well, that cost 2 pennies, Patrick. It's like, well, 1 penny is fine. Why not pay 2 pennies? Well, that's half our profit margin. I'm like, oh, okay. And then these, you can see these are obviously just pretty generic, but you know, they look good. And again, I hate these the shield part. Monster was terrible at this, where they actually made the, I swear I call them vagina wreckers, because the pin was actually split so that it would have a really, really positive pressure when it would fit into the female. And then the shield would also be split, and Lightning did this a little bit too. It would grab the shield, like, you know, and then of course the first time you pull it off, it just pulls the shield right off the RCA, and you're like, fuck, what do I do now? And you're like, well, you shouldn't have bought them fancy RCAs. When the fucking, where's the cheapy ones? Do they even have the cheapy ones? They don't even have them listed. I love the cheapy ones. They work great, and they cost, I remember, what was it? One of my favorite deals from Parts Express was they had 20-foot RCA brand RCAs, and they just looked generic, and but the price that I got them for ended up being 88 cents each shipped. But you had to buy 100 and more at a time, and I loved them. And they made me so much money. It was great. Well, Robot, not me. But I take my work personal. I did like the wire. I did like that they had silver. And then again, the chrome. There's the fuses. See? Blue lamp. Not LED. It was a lamp. It was incandescent. And then those are distribution blocks. Yep. And then the what was it? Battery terminals. Capacitor stuff, and then the capacitor bars, and then of course blue neon, because that's their whole theme, is basically chrome and blue. And then they got merch. Audiobahn windshield decal and notebook bag. Like, I love Audiobahn. And that was, somebody also brought in, they had somebody brought it up, which was, they came out with a sister brand called Ichiban, which was about tuners, ricers. It was stick shifts and brake pedals and exhaust manifolds and all kinds of things in different colors. As you can see, basically what they did was they just made the same stuff that everybody else makes, but where was it? But it was like in blue and pink and yellow, and it was all anodized green and all kinds of stuff like that. So, but I don't know if I would have saved that one, because I'm definitely not into that stuff. And oh my God, and the HID lights and stuff like that. My reps were always telling me, they're like, you're going to make so much money. I'm like, I don't like installing. I was just like doing the audio. And it just, I don't know. Like, again, that was before I really discovered sort of, I don't want to say my objection, but just Like it's too much. It's too much. When you pour $5, $6, $7,000 into a, at the time it was like a $1,500 car, basically like a whatever, some sort of Honda. And you can just put so many accessories, like everything they make at O'Reilly's or Checkers and or AutoZone or Butthole, whatever you want to call it. And people would put it on there, and it's like, fuck. And then I finally realized later on it was one of the reasons why people buy the Big 3 kit, and it's because the Big 3 kit is the only thing that's affordable enough for you to think that you're making a significant improvement. I'm getting a phone call. But yeah, you guys got to really, again, don't have your standards up like that where because what you do is you end up setting yourself up for failure. Yes, this is a pretty thing to have, and it's like, but there's other ways to get there than saving up your money. So savers are losers. And listen to Robert Kiyosaki and listen to a bunch of other people. I heard this great thing. I forgot his name. Cardone. Cardone was talking about like never buy a house. I was like, he's right. A house was invented. The American dream was invented by bankers. It's not in your best interest to own your own house and own your own land where you're paying the mortgage. You end up paying triple of what it, the asking price or whatever, the purchase price, with all the interest over 30 years. And it's like, you're just, you really should keep separate, or better yet, keep separate your residential from your business, or better yet, like they used to do, which was downstairs was the shop, like in Bob's Burgers. Downstairs was the shop, and then upstairs was where you lived. And it was all like one commercial space, and you had, it was low rent or whatever. And that's really the way to do it. You see it now in, especially in places like Texas, where it's called a barn-dominium. And it's basically whatever, like a 4,000, 5,000 square foot steel building. And then you carve out like, say, 1,200 square feet of just livable space. But you live in the whole thing. You have access, immediate access. You can go work in the garage in your underwear if you want, or naked, whatever. But that's really the way to go, so that it's all in. And again, you always remember that anything that costs you money every month is a liability. Anything that brings you money is an asset. So your house is not an asset, it's a liability. You're like, well, but the price of it always goes up. No, it doesn't always go up. And then also, the only reason why the price of real estate goes up is because the dollar is falling because of inflation. That's the reason why housing is so expensive right now, is because the dollar is so weak. So learn more stuff. Again, back to my point about acquiring desirable items. If you just push your I was watching a TikTok last night. The guy says, don't buy stuff directly. What you do is you buy this item to then pay for that item. So like, let's say you have $5,000. So you buy this, whatever this is, and this can be any sort of money amplification or residual type of device that makes you money, like a small business or something like that. So you spend the $5,000 on this, and let's say it poops out $500 a month. Then you use that $500 a month to buy this bullshit. See? Or, whatever. But you spend your money on this, which is the asset, the money creating asset, not the liability. This is as soon as you buy this from the dealer, it's worth half its money, right? And that's why I've been doing what I do, which is that I usually give all the deals that you see on OfferUp and all that kind of stuff. Those are all items that you can keep for 6 months, a year and a half, and still sell at what you got them for. They have enough equity in them for you to do that. And I encourage you guys always to be flipping. And when you find an item that's cheap and good, like a little amplifier or something like that, or somebody that doesn't know what they have, fucking buy it cheap. It doesn't hurt. And I know it's annoying, but go on OfferUp and just like make a low ball offer, just like, about like say 50% or at least 40% off, and just see what they say. If they respond, great. If they don't, if they get mad at you and block you, no big deal. Move on. It's a numbers game. Now, do I get annoyed when people do that to me? Yes, but I always respond and say no or whatever. Or typically I try to do what's called a conversion where, like I posted, I was late on rent, but I was able to cover it. And I posted a Memphis Mojo that I had made or reconed, and I posted it for $200. And some guy way over in the West Valley was like, hey man, I really want that woofer. Will you take 180? I'm like, oh my God. And it was, I don't want to get into the full conversation because it was just a boner killer, but I was like, I priced this purposely so that I could, execute really quickly and just get $200 in my hand to make a really, really good offer. The problem though is that the market smells blood. And when they smell blood like that, they just tear in and they want it for even cheaper. So it's this weird balance that I found that you have to be where you kind of have to be a little on the high side and then be patient. Again, the only reason why I was late on rent was because I was too busy investing all the stuff in Audio Legion, which you guys should be doing, buying up that stuff and flipping that stuff, and also on a bunch of amps coming from China. This time I'm fronting all the stuff that I'm getting from China so that you guys don't have to, which is the full bridge 8K, 5K, 3K, and then even the 2-channel versions, which are I think they make a 3K and a 4-channel, another 4-channel as well. So I fronted all that. I ended up taking out a loan with Elastic for like $3,500, and then I purchased those things, and then we'll make the money back and do good. But I didn't reserve enough money for myself, and just remember, when you are an entrepreneur and you are focused and working on something like this, bouncing checks is actually pretty normal, and that's why the banking industry actually changed it to call it insurance rather than like a penalty thing, because you're actually just paying for the insurance. And there's months where you can actually use that to your advantage. So make sure you look at the limits, because typically the limits, I think at my bank, are like $1,000. Like they'll cover up to $1,000. And I didn't really read the terms on how quickly you have to pay that back or whatever. But if you're $1,000 short on rent, fucking write that hot check. That used to be a felony. Now it's just an insurance thing, which is better for business anyway, because when people are poor, they used to write checks for all kinds of things like groceries and stuff like that. And then the vendors used to pin them up and say, this person is banned and all this kind of stuff, because there wasn't really any penalty for small check theft. So the best thing, of course, is electronic money. So you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about getting robbed. And that is why we're all moving toward the electronic money. I don't know how I got on this fucking subject. I got to get out of this conversation. I love you guys. Stay away from the space butthole. Always bring in another something to pay for the space butthole. And then you can play with your dumb toys and stuff like that. But do your work first. Do your investing first. Do your money amplifier first before you get stuff that you want. So love you. Bye.